As time progresses and technology advances, if humanity survives the climate crisis, then people will use more and more energy as a whole. So, in addition to harnessing energy from wind and water, this will mainly be done by converting sunlight into electricity. Therefore, when humanity becomes a Type 1 civilization in the 22nd century, the energy consumption of people worldwide will be at about 4x10 superscript 12 watts. Then, when humanity becomes a Type 2 civilization, the overall energy consumption of everyone in the 30th century will be at a level of around 4x10 watts. In other words, global energy utilization will be comparable to the luminosity of our parent star. So, people in the year 3000 will inevitably need to completely harness the output of the sun through the use of a vast array of satellite megastructures that encircle the celestial body and capture the radiation it emits. The huge leap forward that I'm describing will inevitably require the international construction of solar power satellites and space habitats orbiting the sun in a very dense formation. Fortunately, as the new international and interplanetary superstate of the future, the United Nations Parliamentary Assembly UNPA will ultimately govern everything in the 30th century, through global unification into a single transnational republic. In line with that bold new political move toward solidarity, the United Nations Parliamentary Assembly will finally give popularly elected representatives a formal role in global affairs. As an additional body to the UN, the UNPA will directly represent citizens as opposed to the special interests of national governments. Following this forward-thinking course of action, the new global government will then be able to better accommodate the planetary ecology and international economy of people near and far. A millennium from now, there will even be assembly outpost colonies on the surface of Mars and in the clouds of Venus. This will require the construction of rotating orbital skyhooks around several different planets and moons, as well as a huge fleet of spaceplanes for passengers and cargo. By then, 11 billion people will all have access to basic utilities like electricity and the internet, because everyone will live in super-consolidated megacities. Plus, everything that can be automated will be automated in the smart cities of the future. As part of this, with enough vertical farms, humanity will be able to feed everyone on Earth and the other planets with a supercharged, scientifically engineered vegan diet. So, in the 30th century, meat substitutes will taste even better than the real thing and be far more nutritious as a whole. Each and every soybean will be grown to peak perfection in this way. Even the alcohol industry will be totally revolutionized by 1,000 years from now. For instance, in the year 3000, we can expect to see the micro-cuvée trend brought to its logical extreme in vertical vineyards. Using tiny sensors attached to each grape, winemakers will be able to prescribe specific treatments that can be administered by microrobots to allow every grape to reach its quality pinnacle. The robots will then remove the grape and crush it into a tiny tank where, after an individually monitored fermentation, it will be blended with an algorithmically determined set of other grapes, allowing for a person-specific product. Furthermore, in the smart hospitals of the 30th century, every nurse and doctor will be assisted by powerful diagnostic algorithms and finely tuned surgical robots. So, I will become very prominent in the healthcare industry. Even the smart clothes of the future will have microsensors to monitor vital signs and be able to alert the paramedics in the event of an emergency, one of which will be human and the other an android. Plus, there will be an increase in both the average height and longevity of most people in general. That means in the year 3000 people will be about 6 feet tall and live to be 120 years old, on average. They will also tend to experience a slight reduction in the size of their mouths as well. Thus, improvements in nutritional and medical science will revolutionize the world of healthcare and alter the course of human evolution forever. In fact, in the centuries to come, everyone will be genetically screened as an embryo to preemptively weed out defects and correct mistakes in their personal genome. Of course, all the extra heat and UV radiation from global warming will cause darker skin to become an evolutionary advantage along the way, as the races mix more and more. Nanobots will even turn some people into transhuman cyborgs. From now until the year 3000, the several thousand languages that are currently spoken will be reduced down to less than 100, as ethnicities are drastically diminished around the world. As such, English, Mandarin, Spanish, and a few other languages will be vying for the top spot as the universal language of our species. In the end, cultural memes will all eventually just blend together in the great melting pot that is the world of consolidated cosmopolitan megacities. Moreover, to better facilitate this process, around 200 separate nations will all use the same form of electronic blockchain currency around 1,000 years from now. This will eventually be required by the planetary parliament of the people in order to strengthen the global economy. Furthermore, as the countries of the world gradually come together more and more, the metric system will become the universal standard of measurement across the solar system. This will all be done in conjunction with mass disarmament and substantial divestment from military budgets to enable more socialized investments to occur. Ultimately, this will all help to pave the way for peace through unrestricted intercontinental and interplanetary trade and travel across and between the worlds of tomorrow.